Estamos listos cuando pueda.
Okay. Bienvenidos a todos nuevamente a nuestro segundo día de nuestra Semana de Oración, Héroes de la Fe. Sean todos muy bienvenidos el día de hoy. Me da mucho gusto verles a todos. Y ¿todos están listos para que nos podamos gozar en la historia de hoy? ¿Sí? Muy bien. Entonces vamos a empezar con una oración rapidito. Vamos a dar nuestras manos y vamos a orar, ¿ok? Vamos a cerrar los ojos y vamos a orar rapidito. Querido Señor, gracias te damos por este hermoso día que has dado. Te pedimos de tu bendición en este programa. Bendice a cada niño que va a hacerse presente y a todos los que van a poder ver nuestro programa. Te pedimos que por favor sea de bendición para cada familia. Acompáñanos y quédate, Señor, con la invitada especial el día de hoy para atender nuestra historia. Tú sé con ella y sé con cada niño. Bendícenos pues en nombre de Jesús. Amén. Muy bien, entonces vamos a pasar rapidito con nuestro servicio de canto, ¿ok? ¿Listos para cantar? Cantemos todos.
Sobre poco has sido fiel, sobre mucho te pondré. Entra en el gozo del Señor. Uso mis talentos ayudando a los demás. Uso mis talentos en la escuela y la ciudad. Uso mis talentos en la iglesia y el hogar. Y mi buen Señor me invitará. Y cuando venga dirá, bien buen siervo y fiel, sobre poco has sido fiel, sobre mucho te pondré. Bien buen siervo y fiel, sobre poco has sido fiel, sobre mucho te pondré. Entra en el gozo del Señor. Y cuando venga dirá, bien buen siervo y fiel, sobre poco has sido fiel, sobre mucho te pondré. Bien buen siervo y fiel, sobre poco has sido fiel, sobre mucho te pondré. Entra en el gozo del Señor. Entra en el gozo, entra en el gozo, entra en el gozo del Señor. Querido Jesús, desde el fondo de mi corazón quiero cantarte esta canción. Yo decido ser fiel a Dios, yo decido ser fiel como Daniel, aprender más de ti, Jesús, de tu amor yo siempre cantaré. Caminar con Dios, cada día estudiar también la Biblia y orar. Por diferencia de gigantes quiero ser un héroe en el frente y dedicar mis talentos y cantar como el rey David. Por fe ir de pueblo en pueblo y como Pablo evangelizar, mostrar el amor de Cristo y ser amable como Juan. Somos héroes de fe. Somos héroes al rescate del perdido a darle luz. Somos héroes de fe. Llevo la coraza de justicia y mi escudo es la fe, la espada, su palabra. Yo quiero usar de voluntad para resistir el mal, decirle no al pecado como lo hizo el gran José. Porque ser misionero como Pedro hombre de fe, y siempre fiel obediente como lo fue gran Daniel. Somos héroes en fe. Somos héroes al rescate del perdido a darle luz. Somos héroes de fe. Llevo la coraza de justicia y mi escudo es la fe, la espada, su palabra. Ellos claman a Jesús y reflejan su luz. Es conmigo en la cruz. Jesús para vida eterna, victorioso. Somos héroes de fe. Somos héroes al rescate del perdido a darle luz. Somos héroes de fe. Llevo la coraza de justicia y mi escudo es la fe, la espada, su palabra. Somos héroes de fe.
Muy bien, en estos momentos vamos a pasar a nuestra historia con nuestra invitada especial. Laura, para ti es el tiempo.
Thank you. So, hello, how are you, kids? I'm happy to see you. Can you lower the volume? So, our story from tonight. Okay, sorry, please. Can you lower down the volume? Okay, I'm sorry. We have some techniques problems. No, our story from tonight will be about David. Do you know the story about David? David and Goliath? Who know the story? I know every one of you know that story. You know that really good. So I'm going to try to say it so fast, but I want you to remember 4 lessons that we can learn. Maybe we can learn more lessons than 4, but today we're going to remind just 4 lessons that we can learn about David and Goliath's story. So please, I'm going to ask you for forgiveness because you know I don't speak a really good English. So I'm going to try to make my best, okay? Or to do my best. So the story starts when God rejected King Saul. Did you remember that God told Saul to do something, but King Saul disobeyed? So that's when God rejected Saul. So he chose another person to be the new king. So he sent the prophet Samuel to go to Jesse's house and to anoint one of his sons to be the new king of Israel. So Jesse showed his 7 kids, but no one of those got choose. He chose David, the small one. So even though David was a small boy, God can choose him. In that time, the Philistine had a giant warrior. So he started to challenging the Israelites. Later, um, David's father, Jesse, sent David to the battle to send food to his other sons who were in the battle. So in that moment, David heard that Goliath was saying bad stuff about the Israelites, but especially about his God. And that made him very, I don't know if he was sad, but I think he was mad hearing those bad stuff that Goliath was saying about his God. So he offers to fight that giant. You know do you know how high it was Goliath? Do you know, some of you know how high was Goliath? He was 9 feet and 6 inches. It was bigger than your house. Today I was trying to measure my house, and it was just 8 feet and a little inches. But you know what? Goliath was 9 feet, so it was bigger than your house. So David decided to fight Goliath, and that is when one of our lessons starts. The first lesson that you can learn about this story is about that David didn't let his size limit him from God to use him. You know, no matter that Goliath was, that David was small, he wanted to be used by God. So that's one of the lessons that you can learn. You can remind that even though sometimes you feel that you're small, God can use you and give you power to do his work. I want you to remember all this lesson always, okay? So the second lesson that we can learn is that certainly David knew that this giant was too big. But you know what? He knew that his God was much bigger than that giant that was in front of him. So you always have to remind that no matter what are the giants you have to face, your God is much bigger. Maybe you have problems or difficulties. No matter what, you always can remember that your God is bigger than those troubles that you are facing. Okay? So when David knew that David wants to fight against that giant, he told David that use his armor. But David couldn't use it. He tried it, but he feels that he was ridiculous on it. He even couldn't move on that armor. So he used his own armor. Do you know what his own armor? His faith on God. And that was the only thing he needed. So that is our third lesson that we can learn about this story. Okay? You can use anybody's protection. You can use your own protection. He has to use his own, and God protect him. God protect David because he has to use his own armor. And do you know what his own armor was? I just told you. His faith in God. So you can learn that God has a special gift for you. And for everyone too. And God has something special for you to do, no matter if you're small. But you know what? You have to use your own faith. You cannot use the faith of your parents. You cannot use the faith of our pastor. Even though you can use Carla's faith. You can use your own faith and your trust in God. So always remember, when you have to face troubles or difficulties, you have to use your own protection. That is your faith in God. So do you know how many stones David used to fight the giant? You don't tell me. You just show me with your hands. How many? Yes, everybody else? Yeah, good job. 5 stones. He went to the stream and he got 5 stones and his sling and his faith in God. And he beat the giant. You know why? Because God was with David. I know you know this story. This story is one of the kids' favorites, right? But we can learn lessons about this beautiful story. And one of the last story that we can learn is that in that moment when David was there, maybe he feels like, maybe, I don't know if he has fear when he saw this big giant, but he remembered that God has be with him faithful. So David remembered God's faithfulness. He remembered the time when the lions and the bear came and tried to get his sheep, but God always protected him. When he asked God for protection, God always answered him. So that's why he was so sure that God was with him. So that's one of the things you have to remember always. All the time that God has been with you, all the time that when you pray and God answers your prayers. So always remember. So how can you have such confidence to face your giants? Always remember God's faithfulness and give thanks always for his blessings. So in that moment, everyone thought David was too small to fight Goliath. So even Goliath thought it was a joke when David went out to fight him. So never think that you are too young or too weak for God to use you. Like David, God has a plan for you and for your life. And all you need to do is trust and obey God. Are you going to trust and obey God? Yes? Are you trusting now? If you have facing some troubles or something that make you sad, are you trusting in God? That's good. You have to trust in God and obey him. And he's always going to help you to do what you have to do. He's going to give you power and he's going to encourage you to do his work. God bless you, kids. I'm happy to see you. And I hope to see you soon too. And thank you, Carla, for the invitation. That is all for tonight.
Gracias, Laura, por estar con nosotros hoy y por contarnos esa hermosa historia acerca de David. So, para los que tienen algunos paquetes que entregamos, nuestra manualidad del día de hoy va a ser la que tiene el rainbow o la que tiene las flowers, que tiene el versículo. Y van a pegarlo, todo tiene, lo van a poner así. Y ustedes lo van a formar lo que es la manualidad. So, si lo quieren compartir, lo pueden compartir con el número que está en lo de los padres. Si no, pueden compartir en las redes sociales. Ahí lo pueden compartir. So, espero que disfruten y hagan su manualidad. Y recordemos, nosotros podemos ser valientes como fue David, y ese es nuestro superpoder del día de hoy. Así que gracias por acompañarnos. Gracias, Laura, nuevamente. So, por favor, saquen sus paquetes para hacer su manualidad, para los que la puedan hacer. Y por favor, no se olviden, mañana seguimos con nuestro siguiente personaje, que espero que puedan acompañarnos. 7:30, estén listos y vamos a todos juntos a gozarnos en el Señor. So, vamos a pedirle al pastor que nos cierre con una oración y para despedirnos, y cantamos nuestro corito tema.
Gracias, Carla. Vamos a orar. Oremos. Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, te agradecemos Dios por dejarnos tener este tiempo para aprender acerca de fe, acerca de David. We thank you so much for letting us learn, and to grow our faith, we ask that you help us and help us to be strong and trust in you. I also ask in Jesus' name, amen. It's good to be here with you guys. We're going to share the song just before we finish up here, and basically after this you can sing along and then just kind of log off as you go. Take care, guys. We'll see you guys later.
Por fe venceré gigantes, quiero ser un héroe de fe y dedicar mis talentos y cantar como el rey David. Por fe ir de pueblo en pueblo y como Pablo evangelizar, mostrar el amor de Cristo y ser amable como Juan. Somos héroes de fe, somos héroes al rescate del perdido, a darle luz. Somos héroes de fe, llevo la coraza de justicia y mi escudo es la fe y la espada, su palabra. Yo quiero fuerza de voluntad y con fe resistir el mal, decirle no al pecado como lo hizo el gran José. Por fe ser el misionero como Pedro, un hombre de fe, y siempre fiel y obediente como lo fue el gran Daniel. Somos